Hi, welcome to Macro Magic. I'm Sherry Damaris, and I have with me Susan Waxman, which I'm so excited about. Susan was in our original series of shows. She was actually the first show to come up before, and she made this beautiful sweet and sour beet salad. And today she's going to show one of her specialty dishes with pasta. And we had her husband, Denny Waxman, on a few shows ago. And Denny talked all about their new book, which Susan and Denny had written together. Susan wrote all these fabulous recipes in the book, recipes that I refer to all the time in my classes and with my students. And I'm just so excited because I love Susan's method of cooking. I love her style. I love that she understands flavors so well. And she has so much experience. She's not only a cookbook author, but she's also a cooking teacher and a macrobiotic counselor. So welcome, Susan.
Thank you, Sherry. That's a beautiful introduction.
So what are we making today?
So today we're going to make a pasta dish with a spicy cauliflower sauce. And I just came up with this one time, probably because I was cooking for the kids and they like a little bit of spice. And then this dish became their new favorite dish.
So I can't believe you just come up with this stuff. I think you, I followed you a lot with your recipes and your books, and I realized that you get so inspired. You go out to, really good ethnic restaurants and you actually pick out what's in the salad dressing or what's in the sauces, and you go home and reinvent these recipes using macrobiotic ingredients, which is so amazing.
I think one of the kids once described it as macro fusion. So I'm using different ingredients just to bring out the flavor that I want, but it's all really also about balance, balancing the oil with the salt. And I mean, really, too, I think macrobiotic cooking, it's coming from an energetic perspective and really trying to source some of the best quality ingredients that we can find. So.
And I know in the new wave of macrobiotics, what Denny has talked about on numerous occasions is weaving in a little bit more lighter style cooking. Macrobiotics started in the 60s as a very heavy, dense, lots of grain, lots of vegetable, lots of miso, lots of salt. And many people started feeling really tight and de-energized from that. So the movement in the modern day macrobiotics is more looking at more pasta dishes, more lightly cooked grain dishes, more bright colored vegetables, things like that. So you are a very great resource for many, many people to learn that style of cooking.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, we still have brown rice combinations and other classic macrobiotic dishes. I make seaweed dishes, I make shoyu soups, I make pureed sweet vegetable soups. And I tend to do that a little bit earlier in the day because that food just gives so much energy that it helps you get through the rest of the day, and you'd be running around doing a whole bunch of things around the house. If you want to go out and work in your garden, have a really good lunch like that. Mm-hmm. But then at the end of the day, ideally, I'd like to relax. Mm-hmm. So I think more Mediterranean style really suits itself to more just relaxing, have a nice glass of wine and just
yes.
enjoy your life.
Yes, like Ben Franklin said, big, huge lunch, small dinner. So.
Okay, so I guess I should get started, right? Mm-hmm. This is a Le Creuset pot, and it's kind of a unique shape. I'm gonna flip on the burner before I put this on. Usually start with a little bit of heat. And a recipe here, I'm gonna do things just slightly different. They've been experimenting with different styles of cooking, and in order to keep the oil at a good temperature, because I don't want to lose flavor, but ideally I want the oil to not get too hot. Because if it gets too hot and it burns, not only will that taste really bad, but that's really bad for you. It can turn good quality oil into something that can be like really harmful to your health. So I've been experimenting with like just different ways of doing things and playing with things, and it's completely fine. So I'm just going to heat this up a little bit of water, and I have some diced onions here, and we'll put those in the pot first.
Now I know that there's all sorts of white onions. There's white onions, there's sweet onions, and then there's just regular onions. Which ones do you like to use?
These are yellow onions. I like red onions too. Put that to you. For this, generally for cooking, I use yellow onions, and then for salads or any type of pickling, or if I want a little bit more color in a dish, then I'll use a red onion. You certainly could use a red onion in this dish. I think you'd be using a waste of color because it's going to have tomato in it, and then you're just not going to get the nice pop of like the red color. So we'll use this. We'll use the yellow. I mean, some people think that the yellow onions get a little sweeter. I think it really depends on like how the onion is grown. Like certain varieties. There's so many different varieties of onions, and
onions are so good for the immune system.
Yes.
Even if you're on an animal food diet, they always recommend onions, scallions, shallots, all the onion family.
Yeah, not only the immune system, they have a calming effect on our nervous system. So that's like, it's advantageous really to use like plenty of onions. And like macrobiotic cooking is never at a loss for onions. I think, like when somebody asked one time, so like what vegetable do you use the most, or what's your favorite vegetable? I was like, well, I like a lot of different vegetables, but probably the vegetable I use the most is probably an onion. Just because it's in so many things. It's in bean dishes, it's in pasta dishes, grain dishes.
And you can just buy a big bag and keep them in a bowl on your counter. You don't even have to refrigerate them, which is nice.
Okay, so if you look at the pot here, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to recognize the color of the onion there. So getting a nice sweet taste out of the onion is really about timing, adding enough salt to bring out the sweetness of that onion, but also timing. So I always like wait till the color changes from white, and if you look closely to the screen, I hope you can see that at home, you'll notice that there's a little bit of yellow hue that comes off of the onion. At that time, we're going to give this a nice pinch of salt.
And I know in macrobiotics we recommend SI salts, which
Yes.
you can buy online.
Yes, normally I use that, and I forgot my salt today, so I'm using the pink salt. And then here's some garlic. So your choice here is you could leave a whole garlic if you want to and just kind of smush it a little bit. That gives a more subtle taste of garlic. Mincing it gives more of an intense garlic taste. I'm not a fan of the mince, but slicing it is kind of just in the middle. So I usually recommend slicing. And then just...
And you start to smell the sweetness of the onion come out too.
Yeah, so now I'm going to lower the flame here. And at this time, I'm going to raise the flame on our pasta. So making a good pasta dish is really about timing. Timing that your sauce is going to be finished right around the time where your pasta is finished. And you ideally want your pasta to be cooked slightly al dente. Because for this type of sauce, you're not like tossing something in between. This, you're actually going to take the pasta that's slightly undercooked and you're going to finish it in the sauce. And that way the sauce more or less adheres to the pasta and you just have a much more rich, intense flavor.
Nice.
So thereby saying that, some of the pastas that work better, I have these spirals. So spirals work really well. See that? And then I have this type of pasta, which looks like a larger macaroni. That works really well. Also, bigger spirals work well. Penne works well for this particular sauce. Ricotta works good too, but I kind of like the spirals. That's my favorite shape for this particular sauce because different sauces work better with like different types of pasta. So
Nice. So these are this is a local brand from Philadelphia, you said.
yeah, I got this one in the Italian market at Claudio's. They have like an assortment of a whole lot of different things, and I think you can order from them online. If you have a local specialty store that has different Italian products, what you're looking for is 100% durum semolina pasta. Ideally, if you can find that grown organically, that's great. If it comes from Italy, it's going to be very good quality as far as pasta is concerned. This one is called Viennature, and it's an Italian company, and they're more readily available. You can find them in Whole Foods markets. You can find them in other. Scene in Philadelphia carries them. I mean, Whole Foods is pretty prevalent across the United States. And then also you have, I don't know if they carry them in Wegmans markets, but they definitely carry them also in Mom's markets. So Mom's is more situated on the East Coast. So you're just going to have to like go, if you're on the West Coast, explore, just like look around and like see what you can find. Usually these pastas are a little heavier. It's a little thicker pasta. And better quality pasta is going to be thicker. It's not enriched with any kind of like weird products.
Nice. And you can also use whole wheat pasta too. Some people
You could use whole wheat. Whole wheat can get a little heavy. In that case, again, I would probably pick, I wouldn't choose penne. I would probably go with like the spirals or something because it's going to be a little bit lighter. Okay, we have a nice boil going on here. And when you cook your pasta, you want to be generous with your salt. So
big,
using like a three
big finger
pinch here.
pinches.
And I wasn't shy about it.
I think a lot of people don't know about that. I think in the beginning, I know at least when I started cooking pasta, I didn't know to put salt in the Italian pastas, but not salt in the Japanese pastas.
No, because Japanese noodles, all Asian noodles, well, I guess they're coming out with some right now, but they're not technically made in Asia. I think they're made in Australia that don't contain salt. I probably wouldn't buy them. I like to stick to like the Japanese ones and
like soba and udon.
So we'll put the pasta in.
This is such an easy dish. You make it look so simple.
It's a really easy dish. I prepped all this stuff at home today just for time's sake and convenience. And it took me maybe like 10 minutes to prep everything. So it's just, that's another thing, especially if you have kids at home, you kind of like don't really want to be playing around with like a lot of time consuming things. Here are some tomatoes. I personally don't have any fresh tomatoes available yet. I grow them, the heirloom ones. These are heirloom variety ones. And what I did was I froze these. I read online that you can actually freeze tomatoes whole, and then when you thaw them out, the shell comes off really easily.
Nice,
So,
and I know
that's what I
at
did.
least in my garden, how many thousands of tomatoes come up all at once.
Oh, I know.
So
I know.
It's
just
great
like,
to know that.
And what I do here, I just go back and forth with the same utensil. I don't really have a special utensil. Ideally, wood is better because if you put wood in here to stir, it's not going to take the heat out. If you're using something like metal, then that can take some of the heat out of the dish. And then next, we're going to add, I'm going to add a little bit of tomato paste.
Now that's the same company as the pasta.
Yeah, this
right?
is the same company. If you don't have any fresh tomatoes, you can easily make this dish, and this is like the quick version, with just tomato paste. And it's like going to take like maybe a tablespoon or like 2 teaspoons, not very much. You don't need like a whole lot of that.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to watch how Susan finishes up this beautiful pasta dish and talk to her more about what she's been doing after she wrote her book and included all those great recipes.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Welcome back to Macro Magic. I'm with Susan Waxman, and many of you know Denny Waxman as a prominent counselor in Philadelphia. This is his wife Susan, and together they've written a great, wonderful cookbook. And Susan's making a pasta dish. We're grating the carrot right now on a tiny little grater, the cutest little grater in the world.
Cute, Sarah.
And we have the onions and the tomatoes simmering, as well as the pasta in the second pot.
So I don't need a lot of this. We'll just use like a little bit. So this helps cut down the acidity of the tomato and again makes the dish a little bit more sweet. Now in the recipe it says to add miso, but because not all of you may be familiar with miso, I don't have that here right now.
Little pasta dish.
So notice how this is getting nice and thick right now. And that's more or less what we want. And now I'm going to add some olive oil. So this is a really high-class olive oil. I buy this from a place called oliveoillovers.com.
Wow. And what's the name of it?
I'm not sure.
Frankie Bio. Okay.
They have an assortment of
Organic.
olive oils. Yeah, some are organic or biodynamic, from biodynamic farms, and they it's from around the world, I should say. So they'll have some things from Tunisia, they'll have some things from Spain, from Greece. This is an Italian oil, Portugal. My favorite oils are, if you can find like the really high quality Italian oils, I like them best. After that, I do like, there's some good ones from Tunisia too. So yeah, it just kind of depends on the oil and the olives.
Nice.
I'm going to take a little bit of this pasta cooking water and I'm going to ladle some of the water in here, just like that.
I already feel like I'm sitting in a great Italian restaurant in South Philly.
Then again, we'll put a little bit more salt in there. And then the cauliflower are cut into like little florets here. So we'll put these guys in.
This is so great for kids to feed them vegetables when they're not eating enough vegetables, to sneak it in their pasta.
Yeah, as long as they don't sneak it back out. Just kidding. That's one of the kids used to, like you would see his dish and like all these onions would be pushed to the side. It's pretty funny. But yet they like the onions in the pasta because they like the flavor of the sauce with the sweetness. So
I love your
need all
style of
this.
cooking. You're so neat and meticulous. The food's not flying off the cutting board and you're not banging dishes.
Doing this because I want to make sure it's not like overpopulated with cauliflower. But you know what? We only have a few left, so if we have overpopulation, we're just not going to worry about that.
Nice. And what is this an olive?
That is
spread?
harissa.
Oh, harissa. Okay.
So that is, I want to give this a
do you want to
spin
explain
here
what
to make
harissa
sure
is?
that we're okay here. So if I look at this, I can tell that this particular pasta cooks very quickly. And put a little bit of this in here. So this is where the spice comes from. And oops, maybe that's a little bit, I think I was enthusiastic there. Usually at home I use
So what
an
is
espresso
harissa?
spoon. Harissa is red pepper and let me see.
Is
what
it,
is it? It's red
like the
pepper and
Koreans?
different things, paprika and different spices. This is from Tunisia, and it's more prevalent in like more Middle Eastern
Dishes.
Yeah.
And you also have some capers.
Some capers
and
here.
olives.
This is a brand, Jeff's Organic. These are really nice capers. They're not too salty. Again, you can find this in a lot of the different grocery stores. Same with this. This is not like an obscure ingredient, believe it or not. And some of the restaurants even used to have like this on the table where people will just add a little bit of this instead of like red pepper, like the dry flakes. I find sometimes the dry flakes, you get the little seeds in there and then it's just like too spicy. Or this tends to just like blend a little bit more. Certainly if you wanted to like cook a little bit of red chilies in there, you could do that. And I believe my recipe says that as an optional ingredient, but it's not something that's necessary to like make the dish taste good. And then the last thing I'll add will be, these are oil cured Moroccan olives. They are salty, but they're delicious. I might have like a whole one in here if you'd like to taste it. Here, that's for you.
Salty.
Oh, they're delicious.
Oh, wow. Really nice. Really deep flavor.
Yeah, so you can find those also in like the specialty sections in some just grocery stores. In fact, like a lot of grocery stores now have little olive bars. So you can just go and buy containers. I don't buy this in a jar. I've only ever bought it like in bulk.
And loose.
Yeah, the Italian market, Claudio's has it, Whole Foods has them. I bought these at Mom's. Yeah.
So with all these extra things, it's really adding dimension. More flavors, deeper, richer flavors to the pasta.
Yes, yes, definitely. You know what? I'm going to rinse this off.
So tell me a little bit about you're a book author, and you also have a blog where you post your recipes. And then you work with Denny in terms of counseling some clients and also teach a lot. I've assisted you on numerous retreats and conferences that you've taught at. What do you see right now? Like, what are some of the issues that are coming up, and what are some simple macrobiotic remedies that you like to suggest for people who are, struggling with maybe allergies or asthma or, just basic things that they can start adding to their diet? Because I know Denny always says, add something, don't subtract anything.
Yeah, we're all about adding healthy foods into your diet, and that's like the starting place. A lot of people try eliminating and taking away, and you know what? It's all about willpower there, and willpower, honestly, it just doesn't work. Or it works for a while, but then like some emotional event could take place, and that just like throws somebody off, or just like a vacation could happen, like a family reunion could happen, anything like that, and it can really throws people off.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah,
to be
birthday
like,
parties.
birthday parties, like you name it. So I think when you create healthy habits on a day-to-day basis, like sitting down to have regular meals and regular meal times, that's helpful. But also just like making sure you're adding healthy things into your diet, whether it's certain type of grains or grain products. Pasta's a grain product, so don't think that that's not a grain. It is a grain. Like good quality bread, sourdough bread, is a grain product. That counts as a grain. So when you plan your meals around grains, grain products, you complete them with at least like one vegetable side dish, then that's the best starting place.
Yeah, I love that.
And organic as much as possible. There's certain things definitely that can boost your immune system and help with allergies. That's kind of like a little bit more specialty oriented. And I think what I'm seeing the most is people are really worried about time. They want things that are like much quicker or much more familiar to them. I'm gonna pull this off. Okay.
As we quickly cook the pasta and show you how easy it is.
I'm gonna flip around and put this over here because we don't need that anymore. This is pretty much done.
So we're going to add the capers.
So add some capers in here.
Beautiful, beautiful. It
Get
just
a little,
looks so good.
if you get a little caper juice in there, I wouldn't worry about that. That's perfectly fine.
And I know that you can substitute some of the vegetables in there, like you could use broccoli instead of cauliflower or arugula.
You know what works works really well for this dish? Romanesco. It's kind of a, looks like a really pretty little pyramid and little like green Christmas tree-like things. Excuse me. This is a spider. And I think, yep, these guys are ready to come out. So you can tell they expanded. I don't even have to taste them to tell you that they're ready.
So much easier than throwing it through the strainer and then bringing the thing to the sink and emptying it out.
Yeah, well, ideally, you want some of this liquid, because some people like more liquid in their pastas. Some people like a thicker sauce. And when you're finishing it off like this in the sauce, sometimes it needs a little bit more liquid. So I will just turn down the flame here and lower it, but I'll keep it hot.
And don't forget that sauce, that water had a lot of salt in it, so it adds more
And
flavor.
starch, and then that like adheres to everything. Then we're going to finish this off with olive oil. Okay, and a little bit more salt. I don't usually black pepper my pasta. I reserve that for people at the table, and they can, you know, kind of like do what they want. And flip the bottom into the top, just like this.
It's beautiful
Covering
colors,
nicely.
too. Yeah.
I mean, you could always garnish with nice fresh basil sprig if you want to, but that also is not necessary. And this is going to make the color a little bit darker because those olives tend to do that.
I love the version when you use the arugula. You just simply lay the arugula to the side of the pot and then toss it around.
Yeah, you don't really cook that. So that is done.
Oh, great. And we're going to put it in a
Yep.
plate.
So we need to put this in here. Just plate this.
So beautiful.
Pasta always looks nice and white, especially with tomato sauce. That's why you see a lot of Italian restaurants, they serve, you know.
So how can people reach you, Susan, when they want a consultation or they want to order your book or talk to you more about their diet? How can they reach out to you?
So our book is available on Amazon. And if you do purchase our book, please submit a review because that's important. That helps keep like the book more readily available and at like a higher profile level. So that's one thing you can do. You can reach me at SHI, the Strengthening Health Institute in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The phone number there is 215-238. 5212. I'm forgetting the number of my school. Don't call
Well,
it.
they can contact you
Yes.
through the website, SHI, Strengthening Health website, SHI.
Yes, if you want to email me personally, I have two different email addresses. The professional one would be slwaxman@protonmail.com. So that one's like easier. I have another email address, sstigerlow@yahoo.com, but the Proton Mail is more reserved for professional use. So.
Great. And so are you coming out with another book? My question. More recipes coming?
I am interested in actually doing some classes right right now. Can organize that. We have a young man who was born and raised macrobiotically, and he was one of, I believe, like 8 children, and he's going to come. He's going to move to Philadelphia specifically to study with Denny and I, as counseling and cooking. And I'm hoping that we can get together and maybe like do some videos and things like that. I'll keep my fingers crossed that that works out.
Nice.
And I'm very much interested in writing another book with mainly recipes and things that are fun and easy to do, and just like give some ideas of better ways to feed your family and feed yourself that are not completely ultra time consuming.
Yes, so
that's
much
the thing,
needed
yeah.
right now, right? So Susan, thank you so much for coming. I'm going to actually sneak away with the pasta. No.
There's more here.
and taste some, and we're going to feed our crew as well because they've been looking at it all morning. Thank you so much for coming in. We want to have you back specifically to show us your special pesto sauce. And we always welcome your teachings. You and Denny have done the world such a service in terms of your teachings and your retreats and your book. And I encourage everyone to pick up a copy of the book and check out the recipes. I actually went through and cooked every recipe in that book because I loved it so much.
Thank you.
So thanks again for coming on the show, and we hope to see you on our next episode of Macro Magic.
Thank you, Sherry, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Nice.